All right, let's talk about Bitcoin Cash. Now, you probably think you know the story, right? But what if I told you that the common narrative, the one you've heard for years, is completely out of date? We're going to dive into a story that's taken some pretty dramatic and honestly really fascinating turns.
So, what's the old story? Well, for years, this has been the elevator pitch. You ask someone, what's Bitcoin Cash? And they'll likely say something like, oh, it's just Bitcoin with a 32 megabyte block. The whole idea was that it was a simple fork of Bitcoin. It just tweaked one little variable to get bigger blocks, more transactions. Sounds simple, right? A pretty straightforward upgrade. But here's the thing, and this is the crucial part. That description, it's basically an antique. It's a fossil. It perfectly describes the Bitcoin Cash of 2017, but it has almost nothing to do with the one that exists today. The reality now is, well, it's way more advanced and frankly, a whole lot more ambitious.
Okay, so let's dig into that outdated story for a second. To really get what's changed, we've got to look at the narrative that's still floating around out there and see exactly why it just doesn't fit the tech anymore.
Right, so the common perception, the old story, is that Bitcoin Cash just cranked up a single number. The logic was sound, a bigger block size means more room for transactions, which should keep fees super low and transaction speeds nice and fast. But, and this is a big but, that was just the beginning. That was the starting line, not the finish line. The evolution did not stop there.
So let's get into the good stuff. How has the technology actually evolved beyond that simple premise? We're going to look at the first massive update you really need to understand. How Bitcoin Cash actually deals with scaling today.
And here's the first major plot twist. Bitcoin Cash, it doesn't have a fixed 32 megabyte limit anymore. Not at all. Instead, the block size is, well, it's dynamic. It's alive. It uses an algorithm that automatically adjusts the size limit based on how much people are actually using the network. It breathes with the network's demand.
And the benefit of this is, well, it's huge. The best way to think about it is like a magical highway. One that can just, poof, add more lanes the second rush hour starts. So as user demand rises, the block capacity just automatically expands to handle it. What does that mean for you? It means you avoid those insane digital traffic jams and the crazy high fees you see on other blockchains. The whole point is to keep the experience smooth and super cheap, no matter how many people are trying to use it at once.
Okay, so that's scaling. Super important. But believe it or not, that's only half of the new story. While all that work was happening to solve for transaction capacity, there was this whole other dimension of development going on, building something completely different. We're talking about a leap into a whole new smart economy.
Now this is where things get really interesting and honestly pretty surprising for a lot of people. Over the past few years, Bitcoin Cash has been quietly, almost stealthily, building out a really powerful smart contract platform. It's stepping into an arena that most of the crypto world thought was reserved only for chains like Ethereum. A new competitor has entered the chat, so to speak.
And the key, the absolute heart of this new smart economy is something called cash tokens. Now, what's so special about these? Well, they aren't some complicated layer 2 solution bolted on top of the blockchain. No, they are built natively, right into the DNA of the protocol itself. Think about that. It means creating a brand new token or sending an NFT is just as easy, just as fast, and just as cheap as sending a regular Bitcoin Cash payment.
And that one innovation, that single upgrade, has unlocked an entire universe of possibilities. And it's all happening right on the main chain, not somewhere else. We're talking the whole shebang. Native tokens, NFTs, decentralized exchanges or DEXs, you know them, and even complex smart contracts for things like DAO. A whole ecosystem is just sprouting right there on Bitcoin Cash.
And this native approach is really what makes it so different. It's just cleaner. It's more efficient, more elegant. If you compare it to something like ordinals on Bitcoin, you see the difference. Ordinals are brilliant, for sure, but they're kind of a clever workaround, right? A hack that uses space in a way it was never really designed for. Cash tokens, on the other hand, they're a purpose-built, first-class feature of the network.
And here's another really critical piece of the puzzle. All this new fancy functionality, the tokens, the smart contracts, all of it is secured by proof of work. Yeah, the same battle-tested, incredibly robust security model that Bitcoin itself uses. So you get all this new school functionality with old school, hardcore security.
So when you put all these pieces together, the adaptive scaling, the native tokens, what do you get? What does it all mean? Well, it's about way more than just a couple of technical upgrades. These changes are really about reshaping the vision, about reclaiming and, honestly, massively expanding on what the original vision for a blockchain was supposed to be.
And this quote really nails it. The original goal wasn't just digital money. It was programmable, scalable money. I mean, if you go back and look, the argument is that Bitcoin was never meant to be just a simple payment network. Right from the very beginning, the code had a basic scripting language built in. It had commands, opcodes, that hinted at a future where money wasn't just this static thing you send back and forth, but something dynamic, something you could build with.
So the expanded vision today, the goal is to bring those two worlds together. To have one system that can work as peer-to-peer electronic cash for, literally everyone on the planet, while at the same time being this powerful open platform for all kinds of financial tools and innovation. And you can see how they feed each other, right? It's a feedback loop. More cool applications bring more users and more transactions, and all those transactions make the proof-of-work security even stronger.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question, doesn't it? When you look at what's being built here, a single system that's trying to be scalable for global payments, programmable for complex finance, and is secured by proof of work, it makes you wonder, is Bitcoin Cash reviving Bitcoin's original blueprint? Is this the direction it was always meant to go? It's a huge claim, for sure, and it's definitely a story that most people have missed.